There are times that I have to remind myself of this, and this is a perfect time to do that. And it's collecting movies, collecting anything is a marathon. It's not a race. And if you treat this like a hobby, and I have a ton of movies. I've been collecting and buying these movies since I was 16. So long time. And as I dwell on it and I think about it, I have upgraded along the way. There's a million different ways to do this, and there's some limited edition, very rare collector pieces, things that are out of print, and there's stuff in my collection that might not be in your collection, and that's kind of the whole point of collecting movies. But this time around, we're talking about these movies here. These are usually really inexpensive filler type movies that probably don't get a lot of great reviews, or the masses didn't just absolutely love these things. But there's something that I wanted to revisit, I wanted to watch, I wanted to have in my library. And this one here, I'm not sure if we ever got a Blu-ray, and if we did, maybe it was like long out of print. But in my head, we didn't get a Blu-ray. And so I was going to import the Japan one. So there was a Japanese Blu-ray of this. It was like $30. So I would have spent about $30 on a movie that I saw once when it came out in the 90s. And I don't know if I absolutely love it, but then I found it at the used bookstore for 99 cents. And it's Teaching Mrs. Tingle. So this is the DVD, and it's perfectly fine. It'll work. It's functional. If I absolutely love the movie for the 99 cents that I paid for this, then I'm going to upgrade that Blu-ray. But we never got one as far as I recall. Maybe we did, and it's just long out of print. But for some reason, I know I was going to buy that Japanese Blu-ray. But I found this, and it was years of looking, years of checking out the thrift stores, the used bookstores, and this has been on my radar for a very long time, and I'm kind of glad I didn't pull the trigger on that more expensive thing, because I don't recall if I loved this movie or not. I remember watching it, and I remember at the time it was fun, but I've only seen it the one time, like 30 years ago. So that's something that, it was in my eBay cart, so that's $30 right there. Here's another movie that was in my eBay cart, and I found it just recently at the thrift store for 99 cents. So we got 99 cents on this VHS, and it's Short Time. And the only reason this was on my radar was because it was a high recommend from one of the viewers, and it looked interesting. I watched the trailer, I was super into it, and as far as I understand, this might not even have a DVD. It might just be stuck on this VHS, but I know it has a Laserdisc, and that's very expensive. So I was going to pick up this VHS on eBay, and that was in my cart it was like $13. So now we're at $43 for movies, and that just eats into my monthly budget of things that I wanted. And these are blind buys, filler pieces, things that I just kind of want to revisit, but maybe I don't think I want in the collection. And so it was just much easier to wait and find it. Now, granted, this was just a lucky thing, dumb luck, that I walked in the store. It just happened to be there. It was recently mentioned. I hadn't been looking for this one for long. Like this one, I had been looking for this one for years. This one only a couple months. And so I was at the point where I was ready to pull the trigger on both of these items, and I just happened to find this one. But then, as I say that collecting is a marathon, it's not a race, I was also shopping on Hamilton Book, and I had a bunch of stuff in my cart, and I had just placed a big order, and then I was like, you know what, there's all these other movies that I want to get, and none of these, I recall anybody ranting and raving and talking about how spectacular they are, and you have to have them. Almost, I don't think I ever really hear anybody talking about these movies, but they were things that I wanted to revisit and things I wanted to see, and actually, one I didn't see at all, but two of them I saw bits and pieces of when I was on deployment. So I didn't even get to see the whole movie. And so it was kind of on my radar. I was interested. I wanted to finish watching it, but I also didn't want to pay the $20 or $30 these were when they were brand new for that reason. And it just kind of got put off. But then finally seeing them on Hamilton Book, they were fairly cheap. and I was thinking about grabbing them, but then I just happened to be in the used bookstore, and they had 3 of these titles that I had in my Hamilton book order, and now I'm not going to place that order because these are the main titles that I wanted, but then I added a whole bunch more to justify, you get $4 shipping no matter how much you order. So then I placed in another pretty big hefty order, and in the middle of this move, they're picking up our furniture. We're not going to get our furniture till like the end of the month after we move, and so it's going to be a long time before I would even get to enjoy them. So the hurry up and buy kind of mentality, I was tricking myself. I was giving myself FOMO of like, hey, man, these have been on my radar for a long time. They're finally super cheap. I should pull the trigger. And I just happened to be at the used bookstore, and I found this first one, Due Date. And it's just a comedy with Robert Downey Jr., Zach Galifianakis. And I just, like I said, I remember bits and pieces of it. I saw part of it on deployment, but that was the thing, is I didn't get to finish watching it, and it was high on my radar. It's something I wanted to watch, but again, it never comes up in people's top 25 favorite comedies, or people's favorite comedy. Like, I don't recall, I never hear anybody talk about this movie, and maybe it's a horrible movie, but I want to enjoy it myself, and I want to make that decision myself, and so I'm going to give it a go. And I'm glad I was able to do it for fairly cheap. And then this one is kind of that same boat. I saw bits and pieces of it while I was on deployment, but this is one, like, in general, I don't really love Will Ferrell. I think he's okay, but there are certain movies I do enjoy with him, and it's usually the other actors kind of supporting him, and it makes him better, I think. I think Will Ferrell's a better supporting actor. That's just my own opinion. And so this one I was apprehensive about, but I also recall, like, bits and pieces of it while I was on deployment. And then just the other day, I was watching another movie, and the trailer for this came up, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I laughed during the trailer. I'll give it a shot. And so this was also in my cart, and I was going to order this one, but it just happened to be there as well. So I got this at the used bookstore here, and it's House. So this is a movie where their kid is going to college, but they can't afford college. So then they open an illegal casino in the house. And it's, from the trailer, it looks fun. And so it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if I'm going to absolutely fall in love with this and it's going to be one of my favorites, or if I'm going to return it to the used bookstore. But for getting it for really cheap, and I don't feel like I have to keep it. If I paid $20 or $30, it would be if it was an okay movie, I would probably keep it for a very long time and maybe watch it every couple of years or so. But if it's an okay movie and like a one and done, for getting it so cheap, I have no problem giving this to Goodwill or trading it into a used bookstore or something like that. But it's something that, again, it just, stepping back and reminding myself, it's a marathon, not a race. And so adding this to the collection, I'm looking forward to watching it. But again, it's probably not, top notch, one of the best movies ever, but I think it's going to be fun enough. And then this one, not only was it high on my radar for a very long time, I've been looking for it for years, but I've always been able to order it online. And then finally, I think it was on Hamilton Book for fairly cheap, a fairly good price. But then, as I was like, you know what, it just happened to be at the used bookstore the same day I was picking up those. That was in my cart. I was going to go home with this no matter what. And it's Savages. No sooner than I bought it and I watched it, I did enjoy this one. Did they announce that this is getting a 4K? So it is interesting that I waited so long. It finally is getting a 4K. But I picked it up really cheap. I think the Blu-ray looks fantastic. Now, would a 4K look better on the 4K television downstairs? Probably. There's a little room for improvement, but probably not much. This is a newer shot film in the mid-2000s at least. But this is something that, again, it was high on my radar, but I never really hear anybody talking about it. And so I wasn't really sure if I needed it, if I was going to pay that higher price for it on eBay or Amazon or one of those places you can get things online. But this one, walking into the store, seeing it, it was a no-brainer. So then I ended up saving over $100 because I wasn't gonna spend $100. It was like 100 plus whatever, and then shipping's $4, so it's not a big deal. So I was gonna spend another like $100+ on movies, and again, I wasn't gonna probably be able to watch them and enjoy them because, like I said, we're not going to have any of our stuff for quite a while. And so it was that hurry up and buy mentality. I was giving myself FOMO, taking that step back, and it was just, dumb luck. Like I said, I walked in the thrift store, something that was in my cart was just there. And then it was just that entire week, that's kind of how it went. And I acquired all those movies that were in my cart. And so, it's just me taking a step back and reminding myself that, you don't need to buy everything. You don't need to upgrade everything. And sometimes you can find a movie really cheap. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of this, what your mentality is on it. I know there is those guys that have to have the latest and greatest, and they're going to hurry up and they're going to buy them day one, the day one purchasers. I get it. But I just think, like, after years and years and years of doing this, not every movie is a day one purchase. And there are movies that I have in my collection that I enjoy to have. And I think I'm going to enjoy these ones. You're going to want to check out this video right here. With that, remember to watch a movie today, and I'll catch you guys next time.